John, stay with us for a second. You were inside the Moscow Police Department for that news conference and heard it start to finish. I was outside of it. Two things that stood out to me. There were two other people inside the house at the time of those homicides, and there was a question of whether there was forced entry or not. Can you elaborate on what you heard and what you witnessed in that news conference?
Yeah, the police chief said that he could not really say if there was forced entry or not. He couldn't tell if, or he said that there was no forced entry, but he could not elaborate on if the door was unlocked or not. There appears to be no sign that there was any forced entry, Sean.
All right, John Webb live for us. Our team coverage continues. We're in Moscow, Idaho here. We're going to take you to Coeur d'Alene, where people took it upon themselves to gather in a vigil of remembrance honoring the young victims that were killed here in Moscow, Idaho. Tana Kelley continuing our team coverage there live now.
Sean, that's exactly right. I'm at Independence Point in Coeur d'Alene right now, where friends, family members, community members joined in silence to pray, to tell stories, even laugh in those stories, and to honor and remember the 4 lives lost in such a tragic way over the weekend. Now, Maddie, Kelley, and Xana all stem from North Idaho. Ethan from Western Washington. Madison and Kelley had attended Lake City High School in Coeur d'Alene. They all made an impact here in North Idaho. Hundreds of people now at Independence Point, candles in hand, remembering the lives of these young men and women whose lives ended way too early. Obviously, it was an emotional day. We heard crying, we heard laughter. There was a collage of the 4 lives lost, a beautiful collage. When I was talking to some friends and family members who didn't want to go on camera, they said Kelley and Xana were a life of the party. They all made a huge impact, actually, in North Idaho. I spoke to one of the middle school boyfriends, apparently, of Maddie, and he said some very interesting things about Kelley and Maddie and how their friendship has just not changed over the years, how their smiles brightened every room. And I talked to the event organizer also today about how important it is to bring everyone together to tell these stories here today.
So on my way over, I mean, obviously when I heard about everything on Sunday, I was devastated and cried my eyes out in pain for obviously the families and what happened, but even for Ashlynn, who's like my daughter, and then my own children who know these people. But on my way over, I thought, you know, we should do a vigil. We should do a vigil here because they're local girls. And so I just said, and they're like, yeah. And so I just took it upon myself to say, let's just go with it. Let's just do this. And I just thought it'd be a great way for us to honor these 4 beautiful souls. Just because there's so many people here in this area who know them and love them. And we just want to shine a light on them. And just, I thought we could have an opportunity to just have memories and talk about things about these people, what wonderful people they were. And maybe people would be willing to share stories or jokes or, you know, and just have a moment of silence and pray.
And I did speak to the family of Kelley, family and friends of Kelley. They wanted the community to know that Murphy, her dog, is okay. He was here today. He's doing all right, and that is a blessing for sure. Now, they did postpone the vigil at the University of Idaho until November 30th. That's on the administration lawn, and that's going to be at 5 o'clock. Reporting live in Spokane, Tana Kelley, back to you, Sean.
Tana, thank you. And, you know, it's important, as the President Scott Green said, there's counseling on hand. And whether you knew the victims or you're just part of this community, to just allow yourself to feel whatever emotion you feel. This is something that is hard for the human brain to comprehend and process. It doesn't make sense. It's a shock to the system. And allow yourself to just walk through your emotions. Counseling on hand, grief counselors, reach out to a friend, communicate and get that emotion out and talk to somebody about it, bounce it off of them. The crime scene first became that on Sunday morning. There was original call of an unconscious person. When authorities arrived, they found the 4 homicide victims, the young victims. Guy Tannenbaum went back to that area around the house. There are neighbors, there are several residents right around the perimeter of that crime scene, and talked to them if they heard anything, what they saw, did they witness anything. Let's go to Guy.
Sean, there have been so many questions asked of us and of the police and of the University of Idaho throughout this entire process since we first showed up on scene on Sunday when the news broke. One thing that isn't in question, though, is how the community of Moscow and the University of Idaho have rallied around their students, faculty, staff, and citizens who live in Moscow. It can be seen in the tribute, the memorial that's seen in the sign that's on the way into town as you cross the state line. It can be seen by the other little tributes, the flowers placed at the crime scene, but it can also be seen in talking to neighbors who are understandably shaken up and other students. It's the main topic of conversation about what happened on Sunday.
Knowing it was this close was the worst feeling.
Second-year U of I student Ava Driftmeyer says it took a little bit of time to find out who the victims were, but when she found out, her heart sank.
Being in a college town, being this age with these people, you don't even need to know them to feel connected to it. And it just breaks your heart.
But Ava did know them. Maybe not personally, but she knew their faces.
Because it's one thing to be a student and be on campus and be in this town, but I mean, I live right here, a couple 100 feet next to them.
And now, days after it happened, with still very few answers, Ava, like so many other U of I students, says she doesn't feel safe on campus.
Especially knowing that someone is out here who could do that to those people, and no one has a single clue who it could be.
So many of those University of Idaho students that we've talked to over the course of the week, even those who are downtown, saying that they don't want to be on campus right now. They want to go home to where they feel safe. In my conversation with Ava this afternoon, she was saying that the reason why she hasn't left yet is because she's staying to work through the next week, but also she's not going to classes in the meantime. I've had that same conversation with so many different people, whether you're going out to lunch, whether you're going out to dinner, whether they're serving you or not. People have so many questions, and this is going to have such long-lasting impacts and long-term ramifications that I don't even know what those are going to look like. It's going to be something that we're going to have to watch and process this alongside everyone here in the Moscow community. Live in Moscow, Guy Tannenbaum, Nonstop Local.
Thank you, Guy. What authorities do in situations like this, they kind of canvass the entire perimeter, the area, the neighborhood, looking for anybody that might have Ring doorbell camera video, any security surveillance video cameras. That's what they're going to do. They're going to canvass this entire area and look for any visual clues, somebody coming and going from that residence. And one of the things that did emerge over the last 24 hours was video of two of the victims just hours before they were killed at a food truck. Let's go back into the KHQ studios now. Corey Howard with that.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. The chief of police mentioning all the information, all the evidence that they are combing through, trying to find out who did this. One of those pieces of evidence that they're looking at, it was brought up in today's news conference. It's been making the rounds online, is this video right here from a food truck in Moscow. It shows Madison and Kelley ordering food in the early morning hours of Sunday. This is just before 2 a.m. One of the pieces of evidence, we've gone ahead and blurred out all the other faces in this video here, but this is just one piece that they're looking at. What was not mentioned today, it was brought up if the department was aware of this. They said yes, they were. Whether or not it provides any key evidence to the police department in their investigation, that was not revealed. But what was revealed is that it does supply them with another piece as they try to put together that timeline of what happened leading up to the deaths of these four individuals. And what they also said is that Ethan and Xana were at a house party in downtown Moscow. They are looking for anyone that might have seen them or know where they went after that party. Again, they're trying to make a timeline here, trying to piece that together. The chief of police alluding to it in the news conference today, saying it's a small-knit community, neighbors helping neighbors. They rely on community policing. They're hoping that somebody saw something that might lead them to the person responsible for this. So if you know anything, if you saw anything, please call their tip line right away. Sean?
Corey, thank you. Corey outlining what the chief is asking, and we have heard that, an emotional plea from family members to speak out and reach out if you saw anything at all. Have you have any critical information? Kaylee's sister Olivia, emotional, obviously a lot to process over the last several days for her family and the family members of all of the victims. And she said, if you think you have some information that can help solve this case, share it.
I think to whomever did this, if you saw someone acting out of their nature, I know it's It's important to protect family. It's important to protect friends. And I know that those ties of loyalty are strong, but you should be scared. And this isn't someone that should be protected. So if you noticed odd behavior, if you noticed something in the shared bathroom trash can, if you noticed a weird smudge on the fridge after your roommate came home late, call it in. Any injuries, anything at all, because worst case scenario, the police talk to them and they get to go home. If they have nothing to hide, then you just did your job. Call it in anonymously.
Any information at all that people could hand over to help would be amazing.
Yeah.
We just need more.
Families and loved ones searching for answers. It won't change the outcome, but hopefully when those answers come, it will provide at least a small level of comfort as it is a long journey ahead to try to start healing after losing somebody so close to you. There is a program here at the university saying anybody that wanted to come to the sporting events that were scheduled, they are admitting everybody free of charge, bringing people together, rallying this community to be together and share in their emotions. Let's go to Ava Wainhouse now for more on what is happening tonight, including a moment of silence.
Sean, that's exactly right. It was a moment of silence beginning this basketball game. The Vandals coming out with a lot of energy, but you could feel there was a shift in the audience. I entered the building and instantly I felt the support from the community, these Vandals coming together, Vandals and people who aren't even Vandals. This video is showing that this is who they are. This is their community. There's people, there's families, friends, grandparents, little kids, moms, dads, everyone, all age, coming together to bring awareness to these students. You can hear that now. It's definitely something that you can just really experience, and it's something that these parents appreciate. And we were hearing that, I was hearing that in there, and they were telling me they're thankful we're here telling these stories, and they clapped and they just watched the anthem and they put their hands on their hearts and they came together, and it was emotional, but overall there was happy energy there too. People were happy to be coming together and supporting those lives lost. They were all together there in that arena, coming as a Vandal community, just showing that this is who they are. And it was an emotional night for sure. It was, and it's a sensitive one as well. And there's a lot of security on the exterior as well, but ultimately it was a very loving ceremony here tonight. Sean?
Ava, thank you. And as we showed you live just a short time ago, there is a vigil tonight in Coeur d'Alene, but there is an official vigil here on the campus of University of Idaho. It is now scheduled for November 30th at 5 p.m. on the administrative lawn. They want everybody to come out, every single person. This news is just hard to process. Everybody handles it differently. The emotions are wide-ranging. But when you're next to somebody else, it does provide some comfort. That is the idea behind the vigil November 30th. And they are asking everyone to come out, be together, and remember the lives lost. These were 4 students that walked the campus here that had big dreams of graduating from the University of Idaho. That won't happen, but what will happen is the investigation will intensify, and they are going to find whoever is responsible for killing 4 people just off of campus. As we go to break, the pictures of the young victims as we remember their lives. The photos we've seen over the last several days of hugs and smiles amongst them. They were killed together, but tonight we are honoring them and we are remembering their lives and sending out absolute heartfelt thoughts to their family, the loved ones, and the entire University of Idaho community. You're watching Nonstop Local at 6. We will return.
As we've touched on, details about the suspect are limited right now because of Idaho laws on how information in a case is released. So yes, there are a lot of questions that will need to wait for answers until the legal process plays out. But one thing that was confirmed by Moscow Police Chief James Fry, as we just told you, Brian Kohberger had been a teacher's assistant and graduate student in the criminology